Let's cross live to London now for more on this story, and I'm joined by Barry Jackson, a Qantas A380 pilot and President of the Australian and International Pilots Association. Barry, thanks for being there.
Pleasure. Good evening.
Now, pilots obviously train very hard for emergencies just like this. Tell us what happens on the flight deck when an engine explodes like this.
Well, you're right. Pilots do a lot of training, and probably engine failures are the most trained incident that we carry out. And initially, I guess the noise of the failure, was a bit of a startle factor because it would have come out of the blue, and then also the multiple messages they would have got in front of them, plus an oral warning which alerts the pilot to look down at the screen and see what the problem is.
What do they do after that? What are the first measures that they take? They've got to assess the damage or the extent of it, I imagine.
Oh yeah, look, the first priority is obviously to fly the aeroplane, make sure it's controllable. Then the pilots would have gone through their checklists, which would mean that the pilot not flying would be calling out the messages, the pilot flying would be controlling the aircraft and then carrying out the actions as dictated by the support pilot. So it's a pretty disciplined approach to the issue, and if there's multiple messages, then it's a fairly disciplined approach to all the messages that come up. They deal with them as they come, and then once they've been dealt with, then they delete those and move on to the next message or warning that may come up.
I believe there were actually 3 captains on board this flight. That's an awful lot of
Yeah.
flying. There's a lot of experience there.
Well, that's right. Possibly between those 3, probably about 45,000 hours worth of experience, which is nice to have on a flight deck of your aeroplane if you happen to be a passenger on that aeroplane. So, yeah, there was some checking going on. So they were well served by crew. I think there was another 2 pilots as well. So 5 for the price of 2. It's pretty good.
Have you spoken to any of them since this happened?
Look, yeah, we've just, as President of the Pilots Association, we ensure that the pilots are okay, being looked after, and they all seem to be being looked after, and they're back at the hotel, and obviously as investigations take place, we'll be involved in that, and that'll all take time, of course, so we can all get to the bottom of what happened.
Did they tell you that anything happened which they hadn't anticipated in training?
Oh, look, I think we train for all sorts of failures with fires, failures with vibration and just normal straight flame outs. So I don't think everything or anything goes as per plan, and there was a few unusual situations that came out of this, but that will all be looked at in the investigation.
Do they have any idea what caused the explosion? For example, did they fly through a flock of giant birds or volcanic ash or anything of that nature?
No, look, I don't think I haven't got that detail, and nor should I be commenting on that sort of stuff at the moment. It's too early to contemplate or certainly speculate. But I think obviously Rolls-Royce will be concerned about this, the uncontrolled nature of this engine failure, which the casing's supposed to protect the airframe and the wing from further damage. So it's fairly significant and something that we all need to have a look at and learn from.
Yeah, that's right. The phrase used by Qantas is an uncontained engine failure. Yeah. So I presume being uncontained means that parts of the engine have escaped and hit the fuselage or other parts of the aeroplane.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of work's been done in the development of these engines. Obviously, these engines have been developed from previous Rolls-Royce RB211 engines, so there's a huge amount of history and development in them. And obviously, as new technologies and new materials evolve, that's weaved into these engines, and the casing, which is supposed to protect the airframe and the fuselage from any damage, is fairly strong. So obviously the explosive nature of this engine failure has meant that the debris has escaped that. So it's something that we all, as I say, need to take a real good look at.
I'll just get you to pause there for a moment, Barry, because we've just received some amateur video taken by one of the passengers, and you can hear the pilot actually talking at the beginning of this, so we'll just play a little bit of that now.
Progress with this, we'll keep you informed. At this stage, everything is secure. The aircraft is flying safely, and we'll get back to you very shortly with further information. Thank you for your patience.
Okay, Barry, you won't be seeing this footage, but what we're seeing is what appears to be a rip on the surface of the wing. The passengers filming out the window of the wing above the damaged engine, and you can see a rip on the surface of the wing. That must be quite worrying for a pilot to hear that a wing has been damaged.
Yeah, well, look, as we talked about before, I dare say that I don't know the circumstance, but if there is damage to the wing, there's possibility that they may have had problems extending their landing slats, which sit on the front of the wing, which may have had an impact on their return to Singapore. However, we are trained for those sort of circumstances, and the pilots would have carried out their checklist and made sure everything was in a tip-top condition before they landed, as much as they can, given the damage that we've seen.
Yeah, as it turns out, one of the passengers said the landing was one of the smoothest he'd actually experienced, but this could have been really serious, couldn't it? I mean, bits of that engine could have flown off and hit the tail or the rudder. It could have hit other parts of the wing. It could have damaged critical parts of the fuselage. I presume that is why this is such a worrying incident.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I will always say that the best aviation safety device is a well-trained pilot. The training that went into the crew that handled this situation is second to none, and we believe that a lot of the outcome of this has come out to the training that these pilots have had in their career.
As we've said, this is a Rolls-Royce engine which disintegrated, which was damaged in this way. You actually visited Rolls-Royce yesterday. Have you managed to speak to them since you heard about this incident? Because they must be extremely worried.
Oh, well, look, I mean, as Alan Joyce spoke about today, the engines are maintained by Rolls-Royce. They have a worldwide monitoring program. They would be very, very concerned about this, and no, I haven't spoken to them. I think they're probably busy enough without me giving them a call, so I haven't given them a call, but it was very interesting to see how they monitor these engines the world over.
Now, that's an interesting factor, because Qantas engineers have actually come out tonight and said they've had serious concerns with the A380 and that they've seen, quote, horrid results from maintenance in overseas facilities. Are you aware of these concerns from your Qantas engineers?
Look, we are concerned about offshore maintenance. We have 110% confidence in our own maintenance engineers to make sure the aircraft is serviceable, and I don't know the history of this engine and where it was serviced, but I do believe it was in Frankfurt recently, but I can't comment about the maintenance on those engines and who carried out the maintenance itself.
Just in general, the engineers are talking about a whole series of incidents, including a 747 with 3 engines that weren't bolted on correctly, tyre blowouts on an A380 due to brake problems. I mean, are these maintenance concerns passed on to the pilots? Are you aware of them?
Look, there have been those issues in the past. When we accept aeroplanes, we do assume a level of maintenance, and as Qantas pilots, we accept that the aircraft are maintained to a Qantas standard. As I said before, we're concerned about the offshoring of maintenance of our aircraft, and this specific one, I don't know exactly where it was. Unfortunately, we've had a very we haven't had a good run of late. I know we had one recently earlier this year, which is not good, but handled well. But yeah, it is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, it must be a concern that the pilots are being put in a position where they're having to solve problems in emergencies that otherwise shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
According to the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, it takes about 30 days for their investigators to do a preliminary report. I mean, would you imagine these aircraft being grounded for the full 30 days? It's a very long time to ground your flagship.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of passengers stranded around the world that would be wanting to get home or to their destinations. Look, I think it's a conservative approach to ground the aeroplane, but I think once the preliminary is done, I don't expect the aeroplanes to be grounded for the full 30 days. It's certainly up to the company and Rolls-Royce and the maintenance side of things to decide how long they are grounded.
You think other airlines should be grounding their A380s as a result of this?
Well, it's up to them. It just so happened that this happened to a Qantas aeroplane, and Qantas have made that very a cautious move to ground the whole fleet, and at significant cost to the company, and it's a conservative approach. As to what other airlines do, I guess it's up to their own management.
A final question, Barry. You fly the A380 yourself. When would you be comfortable getting back into the pilot seat and taking up a full load of passengers? What would it take for you to be confident that the engines were safe enough to fly with?
Oh, look, as I say, I've got a lot of confidence in our own Qantas maintenance personnel to give the assurance that the aircraft are safe to fly. Speaking to the Rolls-Royce personnel, they expect these engines to stay on the wing up to 20,000 hours, which really is over 3 years a life, dependent on how much flying's done. So I'm quite confident that this is a one-off, but once the preliminary reasons for this incident have come out and the engineers are quite happy for us to get going, then I'm quite happy to accept their word and get back in the saddle, as it were.
OK, Barry Jackson, we'll leave you there. We thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us on Lateline tonight.
My pleasure, Tony. Good night.